Hello and welcome back to Pandemic Playground with Dave. So today we have another experiment for you guys, and that's another speed test, but with a twist. Alright, so I assembled my ships for the speed test with the twist, and what I mean by a twist is the test here is to see if you can fly fast enough to catch your own bullets or catch your own missile, as it was commented in the speed test previously. So I want to get that tested and see how that works. Another thing I want to test, in some way suggested in the speed test video, is to arm it with warheads. Two things I want to test here. One is if I do warp through with armed warheads, will it actually warp through or would it explode first? And then two, if I'm actually warped into the planet, can I explode it and create like a hole internally in the planet itself? Those are kind of the main tests I want to try out today and see how that kind of works with space engineers. Alright, so number one thing, we have our speed test ship here, and I just added 6 Gatlings here. I also do have a bullet trail mod on, so you can see the Gatlings shooting a little bit better. So you can see the bullet trails. So you see here, the bullet trail is kind of in yellowish color. A little hard to see currently in the sunlight, but it's a little bit better than what it is without the mod. But can we fly fast enough to catch our own bullets? Meaning, will it cause us damage in space engineers? So if we fly fast enough, even at 100 meters per second, nothing happens. Because of course we can always fly 100 meters per second and shoot a Gatling turret and nothing ever does happen to us. But what happens if we reach max speed, or maybe not max speed, but over 1,000 meters per second? Will we catch onto bullets and get us destroyed in some ways? I'm gonna test that at 500 once we reach there, and it looks fine. It looks like bullets will always go forward and then we never catch up to it, it looks like, which is a good thing. But what happens if we go a little faster, maybe 1,000 meters per second or so? That would be a decent test. Hopefully I don't crash into this mountain here. But no, and nothing happens with bullets. So bullets will always go faster than your ship, it looks like. So even 1,000 meters per second, shooting forward, nothing's getting destroyed. That's pretty cool with the smoke. You see that? I'm probably gonna crash into this mountain very soon. Hopefully not. But yeah, it looks like we're going faster than we ever gone before, maybe. And yes, this is actually pretty interesting in terms of a test where, yeah, the bullets will not catch on to you, or you can't catch up to your bullets. It's a good thing. Right, so next up is going to be our reloadable missiles. So missiles, I think, has a way of shooting forward with a certain speed, and I think 100 meters per second is the default speed lock, which works fine for most things. So if we were to travel, let me just go up a little bit more. So if we were to travel at 100 meters per second, we shouldn't see any issues at all in terms of catching up to the missiles itself. So let's get to 100, roughly right there. And we're not seeing, a catch-up of the missiles. So that's good. But what happens if we go a little bit faster? So we go a little faster. The missiles are slowing down. I'm actually catching up to it, as you see here, which is interesting. And I think I just hit myself right there. That is a very unique piece to it. I'm not hurting myself though. That's a good thing. So it's shooting backwards, it looks like. Yeah. It is blowing up though. So even at about 200 it was an issue. Now let me let it slow down on its own and see what happens. So once I shoot it, it explodes at that speed. But it's not destroying my ship, which I actually thought it was going to destroy the ship if I could catch up to it. Okay, so I hit 150. And that looks fine. Let me straighten out a little bit because I'm getting a little bit too far from the planet. Alright, 300 is the speed which we cannot use the missiles. The good news is that it's not blowing up the ship. Alright, so around 250. Let's see, 250? Nope, a little less than 250. 200. 200 meters per second is the speed of the traveling missiles. And I'm not sure why it's not blowing up when I'm hitting it. So that's an interesting piece to it. Maybe I'm in creative mode is why. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, 200 meters per second is the speed of the missiles. So we could definitely catch up to it with the speed mod, but with the default 100 meters per second, that's not going to happen. But the interesting part is that it's not destroying my ship, and I'm not too sure why, which is interesting. So let's slow it down here. And let me spawn another ship. I know I'm in creative mode, so I don't know if that's why it's not blowing up, but I highly doubt it. So if I were to shoot this guy now, if I can aim, it will blow up. So that's interesting. So when you fly 200 meters per second, you catch up to the missile, but it won't blow you up, as you see here. So that is very unique. I would think if you catch up to your missiles, you would at least blow up, but it looks like it's not. And it looks like it is blowing up because it's hitting me. Right there, as you see there, I kind of hit myself. If I catch up to it, it hits myself too. But nothing's happening to the ship. So that's a unique thing about this test here. So that kind of works out. Guess we can move on to the next piece. So yeah, that was very unexpected for it to do that, where you can crash into your own missiles and nothing happens. This test is going to be for warheads. The warheads, what I want to test once again is, will you blow up the moment you hit the ground when you kind of warp into the planet? That's the thing. So let's go to our ship here. Let's look at our warheads. And our warheads are not armed yet, so let's arm them. So now they're armed, right? Yep, they're yellow, so they're armed. And any little touch usually would blow you up. But if we go fast enough and then warp into the planet, will we explode? Or will we just go right through with no issues? That's kind of what I want to test here. So we're going to test it by going straight down into the lake, the ice lake, at a relatively high speed. I think we're looking at probably 1,000 meters per second. So that way we can warp through it. I think you could warp through it at a slower speed, but I think it's guaranteed when it's like 1,000 meters per second. So let's just get to 1,000 meters per second, or roughly around there, maybe 1,005 or so. Gravity's gonna help me push down anyway, so we'll leave it as that. So let's just bring this guy down this way. We're gonna attempt to go through the planet right there. Hopefully I don't run into anything. Possibility, but we'll see how it goes. So we should hit, I would say, close to 2,000 meters per second here, maybe. Our warheads are in the front, completely armed. And we have 9 in the front and 4 more behind it. So let's just see what happens. Alright, here we go. We're starting from 0, going forward into the planet. We should hit roughly 1,000 meters to maybe 2,000 meters per second. Hopefully, we'll warp right through it, but I do want to see if we'll explode first while we try to phase through it, or we're just gonna phase right through it. And if we phase right through it, what we're gonna do is try to slow it down in the planet and then detonate the warhead. So I'm in creative mode, so I'm not gonna die, but maybe create a little hole in maybe the center of the planet. Hopefully, we'll see what happens. But it's gonna be rough to stop at 1,000 meters per second, or even more. So we're already hit 1,000 meters per second, so that's more speed than we need to go through the planet, I believe. So it looks like my best guess is 1,007 when we hit the surface of the planet. There we go. 1,004, 1,005. And we are 1,000, very close to 1,007. Oh, we explode first. interesting. Do we need to test this by going a lot faster? Is another question. But that completely exploded and not warped through the planet. Huh. Alright, so I don't know where I landed specifically. So there's a chance that it did kind of warp through. I'm not too sure. But usually you would just warp through with your ship. But that's an interesting piece to it. Let me see if I can find it. Okay. It looks like it's here. Somewhere. It is floating. Pieces of it is at least floating. So let's see. I can't follow it. Yeah, so I don't know what it is that's flying. Oop, something just broke again. So yeah, I can't tell what's flying from that ship. But it's definitely moving towards space. And it's a piece of something somewhere. But I can't tell exactly where. Can I stop it? There we go. Okay, so that's what it was. So I stopped it, and that is what's left of that ship. These are not it, right? Let's just teleport here to find it. No, this is not it. Where is this? This is a different ship that I was playing around with earlier, so that's not it. So yeah, I think that was this piece is what's left of the ship that we went through with the armed warhead. So that is quite interesting. Alright, so let's get back to the other ships. Wherever they are. Here. So that was a good test to see if it does work out. And it blew up before we were able to warp through. Now, is it because we weren't going fast enough? Might be another thing. So what I'm going to do is copy this guy, which is the Warhead ship. And I really do want to warp through so we can test out blowing it up in the planet. At least in the core of the planet. So let's do it the cheesy way. I'm just going to float up as far as I can from the planet. Maybe right around here. Let's spawn myself here. Aim for the planet. And try to warp through again. Okay, so this is the planet. The ice lake is, I believe, right there? Yeah. That's the ice lake right here. We're gonna have to arm the warheads. I know this is warheads. Typo. I just left as is. Alright, so let's just see if this works. So now, let's just hope we hit the 200 or 2,000 meters per second mark, and hopefully that'll work out. Take the warhead. Okay. Alright, so last time we did, it was 1,650 meters per second. And it exploded before we warped through. So let's see what happens if we can get a little bit faster than that. If we can get faster than that and it warps through, then perfect. Because I want to get inside the planet and have the warheads detonate. So we see if we can make like a core. Or make a hole in the center of the planet. Or not inside the planet at least. If this doesn't pan out, we could just spectate mode and go right into the planet and see if we can spawn the ship there. Which shouldn't be an issue. But I do want to see if we can warp a little bit faster. I mean, warp into it by going a little bit faster. So we're definitely gonna hit over 200 meters per second at this, 2,000 meters per second at this point. Because we're about 1.4, 1.5 now. And I do hope I don't run into an asteroid as we're doing this, which they look like they're fairly close. Okay, here we go. We are at 1.8. 1.9. 2,000. This is going to be quick. I think in my guess here, 2007, 2008 is going to be about impact speed. Maybe I'm wrong. It looks like 2.6. And we are hitting 2.5 actually. And we... Okay, then that's a little different. So there was a bit of an explosion, but I'm not sure what exploded. And we're going to try and attempt to slow down as quickly as possible here. I don't know which direction I'm floating backwards, so if I can get my forward thrusters to stop everything, that'll be a little bit better. Here we go. I think that's going to slow down significantly. So slowing down, of course, is going to be a big issue, as you can tell. We're going to pitch this way a little bit. And we might pop out of the planet before we slow down, potentially. I hope not, but I can see that being the issue here. So I'm not exactly sure which is the best way to slow down, but if I spin around a little bit more, I might be able to stop. Actually, we're almost there. We're at 600 meters per second, but we are still going. We're going upwards, so let's slow it down this way. Here we go. That might do it. Alright, 300. Just the 200. And I guess we could fly around in here too if we wanted to. It says pull up, so I think it just passed the surface, which is not what I wanted, and that just blew up. Okay. Where am I? Was not expecting that, but it looks like I reached the surface just as I was about to slow down too, and it just blew everything up. So unfortunately, what I want to see, what happened in the front. Did the warheads explode or not? I don't think it did. And this is not a big enough explosion for a warhead. I'm not too sure what happened. It looks like some of the warhead were still intact when we were in planet. I should have checked to see if they were still attached by going to my control panel here, but unfortunately that didn't happen. Alright, so what we're going to test now is pretty much what we wanted to do before, and that is go through the planet first and see if we can explode it. We're going to go in a bit, not too much. Right around here would probably do. We'll spawn ourselves here, and we're in the planet. So we're underneath the surface by 4,689 meters, it looks like. And here is where we can just hit detonate. I'm not going to perish or die, but let's see if it makes a bit of a hole. So we can do our warheads. Let's see what happens with arm it. If we arm it, nothing happens because there's no contact with anything, right? Yep, no contact with anything. So now we will just have to explode it. 3, 2, 1, detonate. And we are now in a bit of a hole. So that makes it interesting. So we can definitely do this. So if you're able to warp through the planet, you can explode it, and then you have a nice little hole here, which yeah, nothing you could do here except for perish or try to survive here. Maybe this will be a new survival adventure. Dig your way out, but that'll be boring. All right, so we are definitely, where's that hoe? Right there. Okay, what's interesting is that the hoe, that is cool. It made a hoe in front where the warheads exploded. So that's where my space engineer is, in this little hole. But the rest of the ship is still inside the planet itself. So if I were to drill through, I can see parts of the ship. That's funny. It's gonna blow up a little bit. I don't know how. It's like looking for fossils at this point here. But that's freaking out, as you see here. But if I keep doing that, what's gonna happen? Is it gonna release itself? It's gonna just blow up? I have no idea. Can we release it? Nope. Oop! It just blew up. Alright, so this was a fun test and ridiculous test, but it kind of makes for a little bit fun adventure here. So I gotta find a way to dig it out if I can. If not, it's just gonna blow everything up, apparently. Oh, I just got caught. Here you go, I released most of it. So this is funny how I just get stuck in here like this. But yeah, I won't be able to save it because every time I go through it, it's just gonna explode. So alright, so I do wonder if I can scan through the surfaces, see if I can find a big explosion or big hole where it exploded, to see where the initial impact was for the first test that hit 1,007 meters per second. And it could be one of these guys here, maybe not. It's hard to tell. Because these could be some craters I created earlier on with different experiments. But these could be it, maybe. Alright, so we have one final test to look at, and this is going back to another experiment that we had previously, and that is with parachutes. So the idea here is to go as fast as possible, hop the parachute. Will it slow us down kind of at the same rate or at a slower rate? Basically, when we did 100 meters per second, it usually slows us down really quickly, where we could almost slow down before crash within probably maybe 100 meters, something like that. I forget what the numbers were. But if we go way fast, can we really slow it down so that we don't crash? Let's go, maybe let's do the same test again. Let's pop into space. Load up our ship here. Fly down right there. And then pop our parachute when we hit. I kind of want to test 500 meters per second initially. Or let's just see what happens. Let's just try to pop it at 5,000 meters to the surface. No, 500 meters to the surface. I think 500 will be a quite close release. But with the parachute, even at 100 meters per second, 500 meters it's more than enough. With this ship, I think even 100 is more than enough. But with this speed, I'm a little afraid it's going to blow up. But let's just see what happens. So I think we're going to hit 1.7 again like we did the first test with the Warheads. But let's look at the meters and pop it at between 500 to maybe 100. It's going to be hard to see the number because it goes by really, really quick. But if it slows us down, then that would be really, really interesting. So what I'm going to do also... yeah, let's just leave it as that. But I am going to slow it down. I'm going to pop the parachute and not press anything. So I'll pop the parachute there. Ooh, that's not too bad at all. But that was a bit tight, to be honest. I popped it at roughly 1,200 meters. And it slowed down and stopped us at 161. So if I did 500, I'm pretty sure I would have just hit something and blew up. But luckily I didn't do that because it was getting a little sketchy with the meters per second ticking down super quickly. But that worked out. Alright, so let's see. Instead of going forwards into a planet, let's go fly forwards horizontally. Let's pick up as much speed as we can. And let's just check out the meters per second, how quickly it drops. So let's do a test roughly around 1,000 meters per second. I think that'll be interesting. So we're at 7, climbing to 8, 9, and 1,000 meters per second shortly. So once we hit that, we're gonna do 3, 2, 1, open parachute, and we slow down. Well, that's actually not too bad. That slowed down pretty significantly. So it's almost the same as going 100 meters per second launching your parachute. It slows you down pretty fast. So if I did the same thing at maybe 250, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it slowed down pretty much. I mean, at that speed as I was going, you would think you pop out of your cockpit, fly out the windshield, regardless if it's your seatbelt or not, because it slowed down from 1,000 meters per second to almost 0 in like 2 seconds. So that is a bit much in terms of slowing down, but I guess it's possible. Alright, so that was a fun experiment as always. If you enjoyed it, please hit that thumbs up, like the video, and of course, I'll see you guys next time.